This is the story of my two Thinkpads and what I did to upgrade the radio room Thinkpad to a new SSD. It had a really old 80 gigabyte electromechanical drive in it, and I wanted to upgrade it to a cheap 256 gigabyte SSD. And I didn't want to do any software reconfiguration or any of that. And I used the same method that I use on Windows machines, etc. To do this, you have to be able to mount your new hard drive to your operating computer and access it. And I'll show you how I do that in a minute. Okay. You also have to be willing to use a partitioning tool, but you'd have to do that whether you use my method or not anyway. You also have to be willing to use a drive cloning tool called Clonezilla. I have Clonezilla live on a thumb drive, and I'll show you that. The way that I mounted my new solid state drive to a running machine is with something I love on my my more capable Thinkpad. And I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to mount you on it. I'm going to mount you. I'm thinking Linux. I'm going to put you on a... One thing I love about these Thinkpads is they have a super drive bay, and you can pop the drive out. They come standard, or at least both of mine came standard equipped with a DVD burning drive, a dual layer DVD burner. But by releasing the drive, you can just pop it out like that. And that's not the DVD drive, you'll notice. It's a carrier made for that super drive bay, and it lets me mount a conventional hard drive in that bay, or it lets me mount an SSD in that bay. And so right now, this is my data drive. It's a 1 terabyte drive that I use on my main machine, and it's only data. The operating system's on the hard drive. I'm going to turn the machine around. The operating system's on its normal hard drive that's accessible through that little door. Little screw pops out. The drive, you grab a tab, it slides right out of there. Okay? So that's what I do. I'm going to zoom you back out, if my phone will allow. And so what I do, I mounted my new solid state drive in that carrier. I slid it into my machine, and I'm going to pause you and show you what I did next. Okay, this is my radio room computer, and I have slid that drive bay holding that second hard drive into its drive bay, okay, for the demo. One thing, the reason I upgraded was because of its miserable boot times. Man, Linux is not a fast booter, at least in my experience. This machine took 1 minute and 28 seconds to boot. I've timed it several times, and it's not a heavily loaded system, although that means little with Linux, because it doesn't work with Windows like Windows does with a registry. Regardless of how heavily loaded it is within reason, it'll perform the same. That being said, I do start a database because of CQR log. Anyway, I better shut up. Watch how fast this thing boots now. I timed it several times, and it came in right at 18 seconds. And I start the timing. You'll see the Thinkpad logo up here. I start my stopwatch when that logo disappears. Like now. After this thing's done booting, I'm going to pause you again and zoom in on the screen. Try to get this phone to record an acceptable image without pumping in and out like I see it doing. You'll have to bear, boom, done. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pause you and try to get a better image. Hang on. Okay, before my little tutorial begins, I want to show you the only glitch, the only kink I've noticed with Mint 20. And I tested this with a fresh install, and it did the same thing. Boy, does this aspect ratio looks bad. Anyway, one of the features I love, in fact, if I go to preferences, this is the file manager is called Nemo. If you go to the behavior section, this option right here, double click on a blank area to go to the parent folder. Oh, I love that dearly. And let me go, for example, to my whatever folder. Let's go to the pictures folder, okay? Now, I'm using the touchpad and I'm going to double tap right in here on a blank area, okay? Tap, tap. What happened? Nothing. Tap, tap. My ThinkPads also have two sets of mechanical buttons on the touchpad, okay? They work exactly like your mouse. And that feature works if I use those buttons. Watch. I'm going to go click, click, and it took me to the parent folder, right? If I plug an external mouse into the computer, it works. This is the only, yet it detects the taps on the touchpad, right? Like that and like that. And it's just that one instance. If I double tap, again, man, if I double tap in a blank area, right now, tap, tap, nothing. Use a mechanical button, tap, tap. Okay, so that said, a couple other little demos are in order. Another point of misery for me was how god-awful long it took to open even a Word document. Here's a pretty good size one. This is the one I keep my YouTube tags and stuff like that in. Watch the pointer when it turns to a circle, and watch how long it takes to open this, to open LibreOffice for the first time after a fresh boot. Before I upgraded my hard drive, subsequent openings would happen pretty darn fast. But the initial one, it would take 30 seconds to open this file right here. Literally, I timed it 30 seconds. Now watch, I'll say tap tap when I double tap it, although you should be able to see it. Tap tap. And it's not, that's pretty fast, man, for a big, big Word document, Not bad. I could live with that. What was another source of misery for me? And I'm being dramatic. It wasn't miserable. Well, it was kind of miserable. If I opened my browser, your web browser is a gorilla. It takes forever anyway. But watch how long Firefox will open now, man. This took a full 30 seconds too, and look, it's done. Firefox opens lickety-split. Now Google's being a drag, right? But Firefox snapped open, man, with a solid-state drive on here. I'm happy as hell. And so, okay, here come the tutorial. If I said, here come the judge, here come the judge, you know what I'm talking about? If you do, you're as old as I am, man. So in a previous tutorial, I showed how to create a new entry called Disk Tools. I did so for the sake of showing how to edit your menu and also to make it convenient for me. Because I'm nervous when I'm talking on a camera. So if you've mounted your brand new Virgin hard drive in your computer, connected like I said, in such a manner that you can still use your Linux operating system. Well, if we go to disks, what will we see? It, right there. That's the drive that's stuck into that ultra drive bay, okay? Now all this information is not what you'll see here because you'll have a virgin drive that's not, A, it's not going to be formatted, and B, it's not even going to have a partition on it, nor will it have a partition table. And so that's what you're going to do first with your new drive. When you connect your new drive to your Linux Mint 20 system or your Linux Mint 19 or 18 system, you're going to want to go to Administration, and then you'll want to find gparted. If it's not installed on your system, stop and install it. Once you've installed gparted, start it. It'll ask for your password. Uh-oh. What's hard working behind the camera is typing. Okay. This is gparted. What you'll see I'm going to show you something. And up here on a Linux system, your boot drive, the very first physical hard drive that gets mounted, will be assigned this nomenclature, SDA. A is your first something. What does S stand for? Serial drive A? I'm not sure, but it's drive A. Okay. If you've connected a new hard drive that has its unallocated free space, like part of my new one is, and there's a reason why it's still unallocated, because I'm going to show you how to partition it. Once you've connected your new drive into your operating system, it'll be, if it's the second drive, it'll be SDB. If you click on it, you know what you'll see here? What we're looking at right now is how my drive is set up as my data drive out of my other machine, right? But what you would see here for your new hard drive, let's say you bought a new 1 terabyte hard drive, a solid state drive, it would say /dev/SDB, and then in parentheses the size of your new drive. This one just happens to be a 1 terabyte drive. But again, what will you see down here? As far as information for your new drive, it'll say this: unallocated, unallocated, and it'll show you the size. Okay, with me so far? The first thing, now this is where my demo can't take place live, because what you're going to do next, you need to create a partition table. You will go to Device, Create Partition Table. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to wipe out my hard drive. You will do so. When you do so, then you'll have to figure out how to use gparted to create a partition table. There's tons of great videos on gparted online. But all you got to do, mount your new drive like I said, go to Device, Create Partition Table. Once you create your partition table, now I will demonstrate what you do. You need to create a new partition. I'm going to cancel it, and I'm going to show you what I did. See, this is my hard drive. This is my new solid state drive, right? And I cloned it, which I'm going to show you in the next video or at the end of this one. I don't know. This is probably going to run too long. Before you can clone your new drive, and man, that's so easy. That is such an easy, a fantastic way of migrating your operating system to a new drive, no matter what kind of drive you buy, no matter how big it is, as long as it's at least as big as your old one, you know. No more software reinstallation. No, none of that, man. You know, it literally took me 30 minutes, and I then had a running system using my new solid state drive. Okay, I'll show you how to clone the drive. But before you do that, you've got to prepare the drive. And that's what we're talking about now. That's why you'll select your new drive, you go to a device, create partition table, and now we need, once you've done that, you've created a partition table, now I need to create a partition. Choose new, and if you're running your Linux system, you'll create your partition as type X4. You'll leave it set as a primary partition, and you just add it. You just go with it. And now you'll see that this shows that I'm adding another partition. Yeah, I'm going to go back. I want to show you something else. I'm going to create my new partition. Is type X4 primary partition label. This is going to be my data partition on my Linux system. Okay. I think you're supposed to use, no, you don't use a slash. You just want the label. Okay. So we're good to go. One operation pending. We'll go for it. Okay. Now you have a drive that's partitioned as type ext4, and it's ready for a new Linux system. Once you've done that, I'm going to make sure that the partition's writable. Oh, I keep missing the touchpad. Yeah, it mounted it. Another pointer for a Linux system. This is going to be my data partition. I want it available at all times. If this was a second physical hard drive, such as one I'm keeping in an Ultra Bay, I might choose to keep it unmounted until I need it. But I don't like that. I want my data partition always available at all times. And you can make it automatically mount this partition when my system starts. And I can show you how to do that if there's any interest. Otherwise, if you don't do that, this is just a little aside for you. Otherwise, if you don't do that, if you want to have a data partition on your primary drive, it's not even available until you mount it. Okay? I prefer to have it always mounted. And when it's always mounted, it won't appear on the desktop here if you don't want it to. It doesn't have to. I'm going to make sure this partition's writable. And you'll notice, since it's a different partition, if I move a file over to it, it should copy, not move. What? Permission denied, huh? Well. Hang on. Pause you. Okay. I didn't expect that. If you're just going to migrate your operating system to your new drive, you don't need to worry about that. Once you create your partition table and you format your drive to type X4, you're good to go. So, as an aside, since I am going to be using that data partition to store my data, I need access to it. And there's better ways around it, but for me, the most convenient way is just to go up a level. I'm at user Carol. She's my sister, my other sister, who I bought this for, and she refused it. So I'll go up a level. Now we're in home, okay? And what I'm going to do, let me see something. Okay, go up a level and you're in home. Go up a level and you're in the root directory, okay? Now, find your media folder, or directory, go there. Now you'll see your user. If your name is Fred, it'll say Fred probably. If it's GuitarZen, it will say GuitarZen, right? So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose to open as root. It's going to ask for my password.